Good people of YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot. So I've now owned the SSK001 GMT for over a month now, and a lot of what I said in my first impressions video still stands and remains, but a lot of things have changed for the better. I mean, mainly getting a feel of why I see the SSK as a completely different watch compared to my two SKXs, and that was something I wasn't expecting because at its core, I mean, it is an SKX with a GMT hand and a different bezel. And that's pretty much about it. So in this video, I'm gonna get into how it's been over the course of wearing it for a long stretch and why I think it's kind of transcended being just a better SKX and why this new bracelet absolutely changed the game for me to the point where, at one point I was gonna stop wearing it after the first few days, but then I wore it for 22 days straight, which is the second longest wrist time streak ever, and only being beaten by the Black Bay Pro. And a lot of that is down to this bracelet. So yeah, if you're watching this, think that there's no point in getting an SSK GMT just because you already have an SKX, or you think SKXs are garbage, or whatever it may be, yeah, just keep watching. Oh, and big thank you to the sponsor of today's video, WatchCrunch. Okay, so in my last video, I got into the details of the watch itself and then the details about, the SKX compatibility, which wasn't as straightforward as I thought it would be. So yeah, check it out if you want more details on all of that. I'll link it up, somewhere over here. And also if you want all the dimensions, it's all in the description over here. So like I mentioned in the intro, in a weird way, after wearing this SK for such a long time, I really did start seeing this as, not an SKX, but rather its own specific watch, and that's just really down to all the little upgrades and the refinements in this watch. Yeah, it's just so bizarre and just so awesome to be able to set the time on what is essentially an SKX so easily. I can set it just like any other watch. I mean, just pull out the crown and sync it with my G-Shock instead of having to try and back hack it and, or just not syncing it whatsoever. And if I don't wear it for a day, I can keep it running for the next day just by, topping off the powers or just by just winding the movement instead of having to just shake it and then hope that it's enough to make it to the next morning. And in many cases, it does not make it to the next morning, and it does make me sad. So yeah, the movement is one of those subtle aspects beyond the fact that it's a GMT that just made this watch so wearable for me. But yeah, I mean, the SKX will still have a very special place in my collection, but just all these changes really did make a really big difference in being able to wear this watch every single day without having to, think twice about it. So I mean, I think that's something that, we can all get behind over here. Something else we can get behind is video sponsor WatchCrunch, and WatchCrunch is a new discussion platform built for better watch discussions, and it was built by a group of watch nerds like us who just got tired of the negativity and the bling over substance stuff that was just way too prevalent on other platforms. And yeah, they just wanted to build a platform that was inviting, friendly, not intimidating. Yeah, just specifically for watch nuts just like all of us here. Yeah, it's a friendly community of real watch lovers that just love talking about watches regardless of the price and the brand. And yeah, this is one of the really big reasons why I'm loving this, because it's this sort of environment that I try to create here on this channel by talking about, all kinds of watches that I like just because I like them. But of course, YouTube is YouTube. So yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how much I wanted something like WatchCrunch until I found them. So yeah, now I'm really happy that they exist. Oh, and also the overall user experience on WatchCrunch is super intuitive and sleek, and also just being engaging and fun, which is great. And yeah, they also have a dedicated team working and just constantly pushing out new features just to make the experience that much better. So yeah, come and follow me on WatchCrunch and check the site out for yourself. And there's a link in the pinned comment and also in the description to a thread that I started about this topic. So yeah, go ahead and check out the discussion, and hope to see you there. So this is a very crucial part of any watch, but more so over here just because of how much it changed the experience, for the better in this case. So the original bracelet it came with, wasn't necessarily bad. I mean, it wore pretty comfortably, and I mean, it had solid female end links. So, and also it was just a solid all around bracelet. But for me, I enjoy wearing a Jubilee style bracelet. Every once in a while I have it on one of my SKXs. But it's I don't really like wearing it all the time, and the particular Jubilee bracelet from the SK pulled my hairs a little bit more than I would have liked. So then I swapped in a Strapcode SKX Super Oboyer bracelet, as they call it. And yeah, I mean, it was much better than the stock one, but it obviously didn't have a perfect fit because it was meant for a different watch, but it was still good enough to wear it, while I was waiting around for the main bracelet to come in, which is the Strapcode's the beads of rice bracelet over here. As you can see, oh god, this dude's so good. And yeah, this was an absolute game changer. Oh, and I think I should note that none of this was sponsored by Strapcode. All these bracelets are my own. And yeah, I mean, although, Strapcode, if you are watching and you do want to send me bracelets for the SSK or any of my other Seikos, yeah, by all means hit me up. So the bracelet itself is awesome. I mean, it feels solid while being flexible, and I just love the look of a beads of rice bracelet. But weirdly enough, the biggest reason why this bracelet worked was because of its taper, which was unexpected. And yeah, one of the issues that I've had with the SKX, since I first got one back in like 2016 or 17, was that I wish that it had 20mm lugs instead of 22mm lugs, just because for me everything looked a little bit too stubby for my taste. But since bracelets are tapered with 4mm tapers, that helped a lot. But the beads of rice bracelet has the same 4mm 22 to 18mm taper, but it tapers in a bit quicker, so it's 18mm for more of the bracelet, which visually makes the bracelet wear narrower, which is awesome. But on top of that, the proportions of the beads of rice make the 18mm work better overall, instead of it being sort of like an inflated version of an oyster or jubilee bracelet. I mean, it's kind of crazy how much it looks and wears like 20mm. I mean, a lot of times I just look down and I'm like, oh wow, this is a 20mm bracelet, but obviously it isn't. But yeah, I mean, especially compared to the other bracelets from Strapcode and all my other SKXs. And so yeah, I mean, if you're like me and you love the SKX and you kind of wish that it had a 20mm lug width, getting this beads of rice is the closest thing to making things right. I can't get over that. It's just so good. Oh, and did I mention that it's like unbelievably comfortable? I think I did a little bit earlier, but I'm gonna say it again. It's unbelievably comfortable. It's just like, oh. And onto the dial. I mean, I just love seeing that applied logo there. I mean, because it really does help elevate the watch so much. I mean, it's kind of like the cherry on top of all these bunch of upgrades right here on the dial, like the raised metallic indices. And seeing these indices here once again elevates the watch, and yeah, just makes the dial just that much more interesting, refined, and just almost looking more expensive, if anything. Yeah, and this is all in a way that the printed indices on the SKX can never achieve. Although those printed indices do suit the utilitarian vibe of the SKX. I mean, so that's fair enough. On the SSK, the indices suit the SSK's vibes. I mean, which is I guess like more leisurely, travel-y, vacation-y, a little bit more ease, all those vibes for a GMT watch. And yeah, going on with the indices, the lume is just much better than the lume on the SKX. I mean, it's just as bright, but the application is way better with clean edges, less splotches. But I do wish that the bezel was even partly loomed, like at the pip, the 12 o'clock pip, that would have been really helpful just to be able to see it at night and whatnot. The dial itself looks much better as well, even though it's just, another matte dial, but the matte finish just looks more smooth, and it kind of, I guess, has like a bit of a sheen. I don't know what they did here, but it's just better. And that all the indices and the applied logo and all that stuff, it just adds up. Also, the bezel grip looks to be, pretty much exactly the same as the SKX bezel, but it's more pronounced and pointed, I guess you could say, which is, what is needed because you can get a lot more grip. And one of the smallest changes was the addition of drilled lugs, but for me, I mean, it was absolutely huge, just because, taking off the bracelets all these multiple times, the original one, then onto the Strapcode one, then another Strapcode one. I mean, it just made it so unbelievably easy. I mean, especially because the SKX didn't have drilled lugs, and it used the Seiko Fat Boy spring bars without shoulders, which made it was just so irritating taking those off. So yeah, I mean, now I don't even have to think twice about switching a bracelet. So that makes me a very happy boy. for sure. Also, everyone loves complaining about, you know, the SSK and then the 5KXs not having a screw down crown. And I mean, yeah, obviously I would have liked to have a screw down crown. I'm never going to say no to that. But for me, it doesn't really matter, just because my main worry is like, oh, is it going to just pop off randomly? But I tried to open it while it was on my wrist, and I simply could not do it. I mean, just because it's shrouded by the crown guards and the bezel and the wrist. So yeah, I mean, and going beyond that, I mean, the amount of force needed to pull out the crown is much more than in any other watch that I've had, you know, to the point that it kind of chipped my nail. So I don't know if this is just the way that the new movement is, or if this was an actual consideration made by Seiko to protect, you know, the movement without having a screw down crown. But, you know, either way, I have like zero worries about it popping off doing like pretty much anything I'm actually doing. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely something, you know, not to worry about if this is something that you are worrying about. So there you have it. Let me know what you think about the SSK GMT. You know, if you want it, you have it. What you think about it, all the good stuff over there. Hit the like button, subscribe button, all the buttons, you know, they help the channel a bunch. And also hit the button for the link to WatchCrunch. They have an awesome platform over there, and so you can check it out from over there. But yeah, until the next video, good day.